Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Zero Time Dilemma. I exited it out, so we need to load back in. It is always a little bit informative to go back to the main menu of any game and just look at the difference in how the game is first depicting itself versus the actual experience. It's pretty different, frankly. The entire logo of Zero Time Dilemma really doesn't match so much with what we've experienced so far. We haven't experienced that much though. And spinning around showing us the watches is fine, but then the rest of the screen is black. And then there's this weird film grain effect if you look at the background of the white circle behind the watch that is happening, which who knows why that's there. Um, I did also now can see that the achievements I'm getting are actually Steam achievements. So that tells me that there is actually 26 more achievements. But one thing that has occurred to me when we look at the flow here is there is a very decent chance, because this is kind of exactly how it happened in the first game, that we get to like this point and then there's a lock, and then we get down to maybe this point and there's a lock, and then we may get down to this point and there's a lock, and there may just be 7 different locks to get all the way down to this point. So if we could choose, we'd probably want to stay away from this path, at least uh, uh, more than likely we want to stay away from this path anyways, because it is either going to be this path or this path that turns out to be the true ending, and that's where it's going to get really, really long. One of the problems I think with the first game, 999, though, was you got to a point that was probably about this far down in the flow, and then you unlocked even more, and so there was an extra 4 or 5 hours on a game that was already pretty long. And I don't know how any of that's really going to work when we're jumping around in different memory fragments. Um, it it almost feels like the game should force you, after doing all the memory fragments, to play the entire game in a chronological order as like a new game plus chronological mode. Also, we did this Q team memory here, and once again the robot kid was able to kick away this adult who is strangling him, or her. I don't know. I still kind of lean towards thinking that the robot kid is a her, and they're gonna probably tease that the robot kid is related to several of the characters in the game. It could also be, though, that something a lot weirder that you probably wouldn't consider if you hadn't just played the previous nonary games. It might be that everybody else has some kind of reverie syndrome or disease that's slowing them down and making them weaker, or some kind of drug has been injected in them. So the kid may be normal in strength and everybody else may just be weak. Regardless, with that, we should just pick something that's labeled new and do it. And see, the gun is very much an iconic sequence. What I'm trying to find, though, would be a sequence where you potentially have all 3 of the characters in the screenshot, I guess. Because looking at this, where there might be just one character, or I think I see the hand of Sigma here, but this is just probably 2 characters. This looks like 2 characters. So leaving those 2 till later makes some sense if we're trying to get the story chronologically, for as much as this is chronological. So we should either pick this one or this one. Since we did the corner here, let's do this one. The Q team here have Sigma and Phi drawn looking fairly different from the way they looked in Virtue's Last Reward.
Yeah. Are they real?
And
I doubt they're model toys.
based on
Hello?
my recollection of what happened in Virtue's Last Reward,
It's probably just out of power.
then
Still, why would these things be
I
in
would
this
think
room?
Sigma sent his
Looking
consciousness
around,
back in
I'd say they were
time,
being made here.
and Phi
Made?
actually
Yeah. Zero's probably manufacturing them.
is not
It does
the
say
Phi
this
that
room
you
is
would have known
manufacturing on
in
map.
in Virtue's Last Reward. This would have been Phi
Sigma.
earlier
Why did you
in
get
her
quiet all of a
timeline,
sudden?
but also being
No
told
reason.
new information, so that kind of changes the timeline potentially, or maybe it doesn't,
Damn.
because I believe Phi
Guess we're trapped in here.
gets just like frozen
Again?
and
Again?
wakes up
Diana, what time is it?
several decades later to
It's 1810.
take the place of the
There's no use wasting time in a place like
be
this.
a part of
Let's
Virtue's
just
Last Reward.
Find some way out of here.
Okay, let's go.
Inherently, 9 characters was too many characters in 999. And I wouldn't put it past them to have wanted to originally to have a game that was closer to 666, and then they go, oh well, that's the mark of the beast, you can't do that. Plus the numbers game in 999 probably wouldn't work if you had only 6 characters. But there definitely is a rethink to get to something like 444, which the number 4 sounds like the word death in Japanese, and the game probably wouldn't have sold if they had done that, so maybe then you go 555, or you could go 777. Just getting rid of a couple of the characters in the first game to focus more on those characters and then bring them back as reoccurring characters in the second game would have probably been better, or not bringing back any characters in any of the games might also have worked. There's a weirdness here in that this is labeled Note 2, so you're getting extra information potentially. There's a shiny thing here so you can see. A lathe. No, that's not really what I'd call a lathe unless it's rotated wrongly and mispositioned. Lathes, every lathe that I've ever seen has been on its side, rotated 90 degrees of this. This looks like a drill press. And we have a screwdriver head, but you really wouldn't use a Phillips head screwdriver in a lathe either. You really wouldn't use it in a drill press either. It's almost always torque screws. Phillips head screws are easily stripped, and the only reason that you might want that is if you're just saving money or actively making screws that would strip before they would break the material they're being screwed into. Now we have the screwdriver grip, which, can we just combine that and that? Yep, now we have a screwdriver. It says cut Charlie. Another blueprint. See, this once again feels like one of those rooms where let's go ahead and combine the screwdriver with the stun gun and see if anything happens. This is one of those rooms where it feels like there's going to be a whole bunch of puzzles, whereas the previous room was downright simple puzzles. Hmm. Yeah, again, this is a drill press. This isn't a lathe. You could not do lathe work on this because a lathe you'd have like a piece of wood, more than likely, stuck between this side and this side, and it would be spinning, and then you would take a carving tool to carve circular cuts around the wood. If you did that vertically, the wood shavings would fling even more than they do in a lathe, which is already a nightmare mess, but the chances of something just spinning out of the locks and flying across the room and killing somebody is just way higher when it's vertical versus a horizontal. Ideally, if you did have a lathe, you'd have a wall or not much behind the lathe, so if something did spin out of the way, it would spin into the wall or towards the ceiling, not across the room, potentially hitting anybody on any corner of this. Which does bring about an interesting question as to why you wouldn't have drill presses be horizontal instead of vertical. And I imagine that's just for maneuverability and for the fact that a drill press is slightly less likely to fling something because it doesn't tend to spin at as high of a speeds. But I guess logically a drill press that was horizontal would be probably a little bit safer too. So now we have some wire cutters. So it's all going to be very manufacturing focused. Okay. So you're not going to get the best appearance looking at these. This little claw hammer crane game. So you have a big steel beam that is being held oddly by just one device. And it says 111 volt contactor, or high volt contactor. Yeah, it says actually high volt contactor, it's so faded. So there might be a puzzle to that. Then we've got all the wires from the high volt contactor going to this guy. And then you have a bunch of stuff in the background that really feels very decorative. Then we have this door with an X on it. So is this room? Let's check that. There was some Monty Hall problem stuff that we didn't even look at. Okay. So we're looking at a door with an X on it. And we're in manufacturing, which means the transportation room should be right next to it. And it should be fairly far away from the lounge. Basically everything is in this hallway section. Right. Still not really seeing anything logical from this. But yeah, it does seem weird that the door is right next to this X panel, because it, best I could figure is that maybe this panel slides out of the way, but wouldn't it then be closed at this point? Alright, and then There's a warning level. Contact between the red and blue balls will result in immediate powerful explosion. Set the timer with the balls above. I think it's a warning message. Oh, I see. Wait, this is a bomb. It explodes from just the red and blue balls touching. We better keep our distance. Yeah, so I imagine we're not going to actually interact with these machines. And in a funny way, a lot of this room feels like it is just designed to be visual distractions, or just designed to have something to show. Here we have another panel that's going to potentially come up, which we've seen that before. Okay. It doesn't seem to me like these characters have these robots have any electronics to cut, or any screws to unscrew. It's just a lot of nothing here. Okay. I guess the question is, we'll go back to the files we have specifically in this quest room. Note 1 says, from the far left, go 4 right, 1 left, 2 left, 2 right. The fact that it would be 1 left and then 2 left makes me wonder if the idea here would be to do the green puzzle 4 right, 1 left, then switch to the next crane game and do 2 left and 4 right, and then maybe switch to the next one and do 3 left and boot up. You'd assume that these orders are right. White, red, and blue doesn't make any sense, and Alex, Betty, and Charles doesn't make a lot of sense. And it feels like I'm potentially making some kind of puzzle where I'm gonna have to combine things. White, red, and blue. Maybe means we figure out what these people's names are by those 2 combinations. But we should just play with this. This is on the far left if you rotate this way between these. And this is green, red, and blue. So let's see how this works. Blue and red, the bomb will explode if they collide together. It's dangerous to mess with this now, so let's leave it alone. Oh. I don't see a red or a blue ball at all in any of this. Like that, unless they're just talking about these squares being red and blue balls. But even in that case, so every point of interaction seems like it's falling apart. Let's just try the stun gun. Stun gun on this. Okay. So it's a pick, I guess, as to which one you might like which one you might want to do. Now, I'm only dealing with things from manufacturing, but the fact that all the quest items are being listed here kind of shows that there really can't be that many quest items. Cut Betty. Okay. Maybe this is it that we need to follow. That makes the most sense. Obviously, this stuff we haven't even seen yet. So note 1 does make sense. 4 left, 4 right, 1 left, 2 left, 4 right, 3 left. Okay. From the far left, 4 right would be 1, 2, 3 would be 4 right. Or you go one more, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. If at this point we did 4 here, which is probably what they mean, then doing 1 and then doing 2 gets you back here. If it actually means to do this, going 1 and doing 2 gets you back here. It doesn't matter at that point though, because when you go 3, which would just get you back, or you go 4 here, and it would get you, well, nope. If I was here, yeah. The question is, do you start on 0 or do you start on 1? I think you start on 1. I think most normal non-programming brains start on 1, so let's do this. That one, and then we can just check the note. 1 left, 2, then 2 left. The fact that these are staying the same on probably means I'm doing it right. Now 4 right. One, 2, 3. Imagine we're supposed to line them all up, so I'm gonna hit this one. Oops. See. I feel like you would hit the same one only once. So if this was it, and then this was it, and then this was it, then going back this way, 4 would be kind of here. So 1 this way. Well, if I'm going 1 that way, that's 1. If I'm starting at the far left and I'm going 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4 should start here. Then that. Then that. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm very possibly not doing it in order. 3 left. One, 2, 3. And then boot up. Well, weirdly, it says boot up now. So the question is, are we supposed to hit B, or are we supposed to are we supposed to hit this first one to boot it up? We really don't have a boot up button. Nope, that was a failure scenario. The game at this point is telling me the answer. 4, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. From the far left, 4 right. Yeah. Okay, so I must be doing it wrong. So we'll do it this way. This one, then this one, then this one, then this one, and this one. Like, we know we're doing the right thing. It's not... From the far left, go 4 right. Then 1 left, then 2 left. Then 4 right. Again, then 3 left. One left. 1, 2 left. 1. Hit this again. You can't even hit it again. See, this is a problem with having puzzles in a game too, is that you kind of need that playtesting to help you. Otherwise, you're going to paint yourself in this weird corner where somebody may just not quite get what you're saying. Yeah, I just don't feel like this is working. What am I misreading? It's from the far left. If I'm misunderstanding this, and it was 4 right, then it meant that that was the 4th step. Then like, it would be insane to flip this around and turn all the lefts into rights. 1 left, 2 right, left, 4 rights. And it would be kind of insane to assume every reference is directly from the far left. So when it says from the far left, go 1 left, you should wrap around and do the one on the opposite side. 4 right. And all you can do is light things up. It's not like you can toggle things on and off. So it's not like light the four cylinders on the right, then go 1 left and unlight it. One, 2, there. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, there. 1, 2, 3, there. Where's the boot up button? Because that's kind of the problem here, is that we need potentially to change some kind of circuitry or something. It's the stop button, we just have to, we don't have to push it now. So this is the timer, so you have 300 seconds between these two balls touching each other. But like, there's nothing else to do here. It's literally just one puzzle. And when you think of something like the Witness game, man, that moves in a chunky manner too. If you want to talk about puzzle games, yeah, you have the Witness, where it's an island just full of puzzles, and if you get bored in one region or get confused or messed up in one region, you just leave that region and go to another region. At least that lets you get to the starter sections of what is like 7+ different regions in the game. Whereas this single puzzle is the gate and the key in the lock, whatever terminology you want to use, to make it impossible to go any further until you get this one. That's why typically you would have a skip button somewhere here. Something that could say, hey, let's just skip this puzzle. Like, particularly after failing multiple times. And I think that maybe we'll get a skip button if we fail a bunch of times. And that's going to once again highlight how unimportant these puzzles really are. But this is incredibly frustrating. We've been doing this episode for 30 minutes now, so it's probably been about 20 minutes just on this puzzle. I'm not getting the left and right mixed up. That's my concern, certainly, is that I am just looking really dumb here getting left and right mixed up, because I do get my left and rights mixed up fairly often, but I'm not doing that. But I'm basically doing the thing. They all say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. All of these wires, for lack of a better term, are animated exactly the same. Let's just try 4 left and then leave. That's a fail. See, I have the pattern down. It's just not working. Alright, we'll flip it. So starting here, from the far left, if for some insane reason you would go the opposite direction, it would be over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1. Then 2. Then that. Then that. And see, at that point it should just boot up. No, and really all we're trying to do here is just, I think, see if we can trigger a skip button, which honestly it should have popped one up by now. Let's make an assumption that the arrow means something. So from the far left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then it would say mean go back that way. So that wouldn't really make any sense either. And see, at that point you have a wraparound that doesn't make any sense. Four right, 1 left, then 2 left, then 4 right, then 3 left, and then boot up. Now, you would have to assume that the stun gun is right in its charge, and there isn't some other element to this. Yeah, there's really nothing more that you can do. Unless there's something more to this. Alright, let's start here. If we were here, from the far left, 1, 2, 3, 4 starts here. Then we go 1 here, 1 here. And going 4 still is this. Going 3 is still this. Is it possible? Is it possible that there is straight up not the right solution being listed here, and that you just can't do this whole area at all? So what I'm gonna do is just look up the answer and see what the deal is, because this is just not working, and it should. Okay. So, according to the internet, the thing I'm screwing up is possibly I'm supposed to hit the first one first, which really does not make any sense. And this is probably a problem from being translated from Japanese to English, because I would never think of this, that you're supposed to hit this one first, then you're supposed to go to 4 to hit that one, then you're supposed to do this, then you're supposed to do this, then you're supposed to do this, then you're supposed to do this. Never in a million years would I have considered the instructions to mean that the starting point should be charged. And that's the problem with puzzles, certainly, is that you need to either have a skip button, which this game doesn't, which is weird because I feel like some of the previous games may have had skip buttons in the puzzle sections, or you need to make them have multiple solutions, or do a lot of game testing to recognize that the localization and translation is just not explaining itself well. Yes, I think this will work. Yeah, huh? Let's look at the robots are powering up. Well, all 3 of them are activated now, and they're in strange poses. Well, I just hope they won't try to hurt us. Okay. Okay, it started up fine. Pleasure to meet you. I am Alex. What's wrong with it? Is it broken? Maybe it's simply an older model. Alright, did we see... just take that frustration of that previous puzzle and throw it away and move forward. Alex is white. That seems to be true unless one of them is a liar, which then that's not true. It seems like you can only really talk to him. Hey Betty. Hey Betty. Hee hee, nice to meet you. You all hurry. What's funny is that they have this like 3 dots behind them. Let's hope this one is strangely super hyper. No, anger. Put down timer to 0 seconds. Set timer to 0 seconds, please. I think it's angry. Set the timer to 0 seconds. What does that mean? Then you have to pivot over here to see this guy. Well met, my name is Charlie. I'm only saying this once, so listen up. It's more fluent than I expected. It's so human. This tone of voice could use some work. What's with the staring? Could you be any ruder, human? Okay. Charlie is at the bottom of the list. Blue is at the bottom of the list. Like, this all seems to be in line. Like, the notes are really just telling you something that you would have been told here. Set the timer. It's a button to set the timer and select the button. Betty said set the timer to 0 seconds. Hey, why not? Wait, are we actually doing what it said? 0 could be controlling it. But we don't have any other clues. Yeah, we don't know what will happen. True, only God knows. I'm gonna set to 0 seconds. What is that? The detonation box. Betty has activated the timer inside the box just now. The ignition switch will transmit in 5 minutes. 5 minutes? Damn it, I knew it. We should never have listened to that robot. It can be disarmed if you choose. You only have to cut the correct wires inside. Don't pick the wrong ones. The hint to the right wires should be left by the designer. So we only have to cut the correct wires in the detonation box. So does that mean there's a blueprint around here? Let's hurry, there's no time. Do we really have 5 minutes? I suppose is a question, and I'd imagine we probably have infinite amounts of time. So blueprint 1 says cut Betty. And does that look like that? It could be that. Certainly. Blueprint 2 says cut Charlie. And then blueprint 3 says probably cut the white one. Because, yeah, this is how this is going to work. Betty is the red wire, so cut the red wire first, I think. Okay. And if we die, we die. So red wire and a blue wire. I'm guessing we shouldn't cut one. We shouldn't cut one of them. Oh no, which one do we cut? Notice how that was just like translated wrong. There we go. Nothing happened. Does that mean we got it right? Robot did say cut the right wire. If nothing happens, then we got the right one, wouldn't it? Thank goodness. Let's take off the screws now. Which you're just clicking to take the screws off. And you can see why having notes is helpful here instead of having to memorize things and or exit the puzzle and go back and look at the robots and what color they are. So the blueprint notes were clues to disarming this. Oh look, there's still something inside the detonation box. Alright, we better keep disarming quickly. What the... Is that thing staring at me? It's the old monitor. Maybe it feels an infinity. Please take this. What does it have in its hand? It says, is that a note? Alex's note says cut Betty. Whereas the blueprint note says cut Charlie. Well, that paints a different picture. Hammers and a pendulum. Well, we don't have anything that looks like that, do we? Okay. We can't get at anything with this glass plate here. Let's take the screws off first. Feel like as soon as you take the screws off, these are going to start falling downward. So, the question to ask here is, what are we trying to stop the hammers from doing? It's like, we're trying to stop them from coming in contact with each other, or are we just trying to stop them from swinging and hitting this central spot? Doesn't seem like any of that would really happen. Let's see. You take that off, that swings, that hits that there. I get a feeling we shouldn't let the hammers touch the pendulum. We can't get it at anything with the glass plate here. Let's take the screws out first. Alright. Okay. Let's see, once these have lost momentum, he should be safe. Okay, we removed the front screws. Oh, I was so nervous. Once we remove the screws, we're able to take this thing off, right? I guess. Probably shouldn't bump the pendulum right the screws are removed though, so we should just be careful not to touch it. So I guess at this point we're now just removing more screws. Completed. Oh good. The triggers around the pendulum are now off. Hey, there's still something inside the box. Damn, we don't get a break. How much time do we have left? I love lamp. I drink your milkshake. I am Spartacus. Geronimo. Hee hee woo. What in the world is wrong with this thing? When did it move there? We don't have time for this right now. We have to disarm the first box. Right. Wobbly wobbly, timey wimey. Well, her being wobbly does kind of line up with this. Yeah. So, the blueprint says cut Charlie. Charlie is blue. Alex's note says cut Betty. Betty is red. So we have to decide, do we trust Alex or do we trust Charlie? And logically, I think you'd trust Charlie and go with the blue. Gonna cut the blue wire and do it. Nothing happened. Looks like that was the correct choice. Now we only have to take off the screws. Now the reason why I would choose Charlie over Alex and his note that says cut Betty is the fact that the note that he handed you really had no connection specifically to this puzzle. So we are now possibly going to cut Betty in the third puzzle, or we just would be blindly guessing to cut Alex, which would be the white wire in the third puzzle. Take off the screws again. This really is busy work. Frankly, just clicking on screws. Yes, it's off. The blueprints and notes were the clues to disarm this. Hold up. Hold on. There's still something in the back of the box. We're not out of this yet. Let's hurry. We don't have much time. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Here's Johnny. I'm the doctor. Who? Haha, time. Making just references to movies and TV shows that in this timeline would be incredibly old. Weirdly, it seems like we may not do anything with the crane games at all, or anything else in the room. Hey, that thing has moved again. Doesn't it look like the robot's going to do something? We have to focus. We have to move to disarm. Let's see. You have one less wire to cut, you know. The rest are dummies and will explode when cut. The one with the oldest memory has the answer to which wire to cut. The one with the oldest memory. Okay, good. Then that does mean this guy gave us the note to cut Betty, so it's not even a guess. It's time to cut the wires, but now there are 3 of them. What should we do? Which wire to cut? Hey, stop hesitating, we don't have time. Last one, you have one less wire to cut. You know the rest are dummies and will explode when cut. What's he saying so suddenly? Cut the timer wire, the one with the oldest memory has the answer to which one it is. Oh, I get it, that's a hint. The one with the oldest memory, does that mean the oldest one? Oh, we actually have a timer note here. So it is potentially going to blow up in our face. So I guess you could get it wrong and go for the white. But it seems fairly obvious that you're supposed to cut Betty, which Betty is red. Which accidentally misclicking enough times with the controllers controls is a real possibility. Wait a minute, though. The red wire you cut at the bottom may actually be the blue wire. Is this really the right one? Yes, if I'm right, the red wire should... Here I go. Alright, so they're not overcomplicating it where the red wire would have actually secretly been the blue wire and crossed over. Which if you were making a bomb, why not just use all the same colors of the wires or splice together different colors?
It went all right.
Let's go. We've been in this creepy room long enough.
Yeah, so they're just ignoring the other puzzles completely. And it seems like everybody is escaping safely.
Where's Gab?
I don't see him.
Gab
Maybe
is
he
the
went
dog.
Off to another ward?
I'll go and check in the prep room.
Why there?
Well, he could be coming through the air vent.
Sigma, did those robots cause you to remember something?
The
So now we
robots?
get the important
The
story.
ones we saw when we were in manufacturing. You started acting so strange after we entered that
We
room.
definitely saw an ending where just her and Sigma escape.
I made a few before, in the past.
You made robots?
Well, I mean, all I really made was the outer appearance and the AI. The frame was built somewhere else.
Why did you make them?
It's a long story. Let's just say that it was vital to the completion of my plan. No, maybe that's not quite true. It could have just been my cover. To tell the truth, I was simply lonely. I spent several decades of my life alone, in the middle of a desolate desert. I lived in a facility built deep underground, much like this shelter is. Sometimes an acquaintance stopped by, but that was it. No calls or even emails. It was a place of complete and utter quiet.
This
The
really
rain,
is telling
wind,
and not showing.
just a buzz that echoed in my ears constantly. Still, it wasn't as if I was all alone at the start. Someone was there to help me for a short while after I started living at the facility. A woman. She was very lovely, kind and gentle. Her name was, well, let's just call her Dee. Dee and I, we lived together for 3 years. We spent the time researching genetics and studying various subjects like quantum mechanics, cosmology, biochemistry, and artificial intelligence. But the woman passed away.
Why?
The facility's environment was very particular. To be brief, it had weak gravity.
So he's talking about
An illness developed within her circulatory
what would have
system.
happened between the
The grief
events of
overwhelmed me.
now and the future.
3 years passed, and the pain was as fresh as ever.
When he was
That's
on the
why the
moon,
robots-
and then
I
he sent his
recreated Dee's
consciousness
appearance as best I could.
into the past.
I made her thought patterns match as close as possible. I spent 25 years completing her. And of course, it was impossible to perfectly replicate everything about Dee. Still, she ended up pretty close. For a robot. I named her Luna. Luna was very devoted to me.
You see
I also
Luna
found
in
that I
Virtue's
truly
Last
loved her.
Reward.
Not as a woman, but more like a daughter. Do you hate me?
Which, in a funny way, you're
No,
getting
I'd
kind of
never.
a backstory
Just
for a
really
different game.
confused. It took you 25 years to make that robot. Sigma, how old are you?
I'm 67.
No. You must be joking.
Hey, Diana, Sigma, come here.
Yeah, one of the problems I think of the first game is that you had an old man character that was far too old,
I've come up with a plan.
and
Plan.
they've effectively worked their way around that by having Sigma be in the body of what maybe somebody in their 40s at oldest by
Would you bring out the
animation
map,
style,
What's beyond
but
the
have their
decontamination
brain of a
The
67-year-old.
hall for the elevator.
So that would mean?
If we open this door, we can get out of here?
But how would we get it open? It's welded shut. Nothing less than a bomb would manage to dent it.
Then, let's use one.
What?
Let's just use a bomb, and boom, the door will be blown away.
Wait, you don't mean...
Yeah, I guess that is the problem of any story giving you a bomb, is that you can then use a bomb.
Remember right, we only need to set the timer and press the start button?
Correct. Once the timer ends, the red and blue balls are released.
When they both touch, that's when it explodes.
They're gonna spin down the
Yeah.
tubes.
Okay, get to it, Sigma.
The camera didn't even really zoom in on it.
The two of us, we'll see you back in the lounge.
Wait a second. You want me to carry it by myself?
Men lift the heavy stuff. It's been the way of things since olden times.
I'm the old
There's
one.
the
But
weird,
your body's 22, right?
weird sexism that
Don't
pops up
forget
as a
to be
joke.
careful moving it, okay? If those two balls touch early, we're goners. Diana and I won't have a way out anymore.
Your concern for me is touching.
Okay, let's go.
So,
Diana.
like, his body is supposed to be
Oh,
22 years
okay.
old, but his hair is like premature
Real?
graying. It looks like. And is she gonna take the stun gun because she doesn't trust Fi, or is it because she's a bad guy?
Phew. All set to go.
Congratulations.
Who the hell made you head honcho?
They should have
me
reused that
Boss Fi.
animation
When did you get so high and mighty?
Since
Uh,
birth.
and shown us
Parents must have been real characters.
the bomb
Please, you
earlier.
two. More importantly, looks like the timer can only go up to 300 seconds.
5 minutes, huh?
5 minutes is plenty of time to get enough distance.
They have no idea how big this bomb it would be.
Alright,
So
I'm gonna push the
their
button.
best case scenario would be
Are you
to
all ready?
run into the trash compactor room
Ready
or
when you
at the
are.
end of the hallway if they don't want to
Here
get
we
trapped
go.
in a different room.
3, 2, 1.
And it's smarter to have two of them already there. I feel like what also is going to happen here is that they're going to find out it never really was a bomb. And the red and blue buttons,
I think this is far enough.
oddly,
How much time is left?
probably
I'd say
don't
4
connect
minutes, 30
to
No, 20 seconds.
controlling the red or blue button.
The current casualties. C-Team, Carlos, Akane, Junpei.
All of C-Team is dead.
Are now deceased. As a result, 3 X-passes will be revealed. Fire, crash, 5. That is all.
No. How?
The execution.
What?
You forgot? Diana picked C-Team during the vote at 1330.
Wait, what are you saying? Diana chose to vote for Q Team. Isn't that right?
And that's the question, I suppose. And that may be the ending as far as much as we get.
What kind of nonsense are you trying to pull? Did you really believe that I wouldn't notice?
0.
What you're doing right now is considered a rule infraction. You are not allowed to leave by means other than the X door. That is one of the game rules.
So blow up the X door.
As such, I decided I must break the rules as well. Q-Team is on the other side of the decontamination room at this moment. They lie unconscious from being injected with the anesthetic in their bracelets. Just so you know, the bomb you activated is really quite powerful. It's true that if it detonates, the door in the decontamination room will be blasted apart, just as you had planned. At the same time, that means the deaths of the oblivious, slumbering Q-Team. So, what will you do?
And see, in a funny way,
3 minutes left. You can stop the timer and
you,
save Q-Team. Or
if you let Q-Team die, then the maximum amount of people in the rules of the game would be able to escape, with 3 people escaping.
Hey, wait!
But maybe you don't get a choice. Now the decontamination room is filling up with something weird.
What the hell was that?
I think it's liquid hydrogen fluoride, or hydrofluoric acid.
Hydrofluoric acid!
It's a powerful acid that can even melt glass or metal.
How
But
do you know
apparently
that?
not
I
the
know because
bomb.
I just do.
It doesn't matter. It's definitely some kind of acidic liquid. There's no way we can get inside.
So you have to sacrifice somebody.
This is...
A protective suit,
We can go in if we put this on.
but there's only one.
I'll do it.
So
No, Diana.
the story
If someone
oddly
doesn't go in, Q-Team will. Then
seems
I'll
like
go.
it.
No, I won't let you.
Stop it! We're already too late. Even if someone gets the suit on, we won't make it in time. Come on. Let's get out of this room. There's no other way.
What are you saying, Sigma?
So here's the choice, I guess, and maybe it's a 3-way choice in this case as far as your decision. Nope, it's a run away, don't run away choice. And I guess we're gonna see both endings, so let's do the don't run choice first, which is probably the bad choice, and is probably going to cause one of these 3 people to sacrifice themselves. It doesn't feel like you're going to get a decision or a choice there as to which person gets sacrificed, and then that would mean the story just continues, because there would still be 5 people alive.
I'm sorry about this, Sigma.
And so she uses the stun gun. Who was the leader of this team? It was her, Diana.
You...
Phi, I have a request. Take Sigma to the surface.
I can't.
So you're saying you can't do it? Then I have no choice.
Wait, what are you doing?
This.
So did she shock herself? Knocking herself out? No, she shocked her. It is definitely a problem when you see
be in time. No.
It definitely is a problem when you play an entire escape room and you don't even know which character you're playing as. Like, I did not realize I was playing as Diana at all. And part of that certainly is because I'm not bothering to read out every single non-voice line of dialogue. Let's just return to the game without doing that. So for the time flow, what we got was here, another death sequence. So let's jump to this point. And then we'll have to use the mouse, I imagine, to skip dialogues. Never has it been easier in any of these games to skip lines of dialogue, so. Although even at that, it's still somewhat slow. Because you are going to have scenarios where you have lots of different cutscenes of dialogue back to back to back. It's not just one skip button skipping everything directly to the decision. It's one 2 or 3 sentence conversation that you skip when you click the button. Then you have to skip the next 2 or 3 sentences and the next 2 or 3 sentences, which would be very confusing if you skipped the whole thing anyways, because you would move to potentially even entire different conversations or different rooms. So now we choose running away, because particularly now you know she didn't succeed to save people anyways. So
Where's Sigma?
Sigma
He's still in there.
didn't run away with them.
Sigma! Sigma! What are you doing? Open this door!
I have to do this.
What do you mean?
You would have tried to hold me back if I said I'd go, right?
You lied?
Anyway, there's no time. You both need to get as far away as you can.
Stop messing around. You're just gonna die?
That's not it. It's just in case. I won't die.
That was an
I
interesting.
will save everyone in Q Team. So,
That is interesting how
Sigma! Sigma!
we killed all 9 of the characters to get that last game over. I don't think you're always going to get a game over only when you kill all 9 of the characters. But maybe that is what a game over means, is that everybody dies. Alright, so that again is locked. And almost certainly the reason why that is locked is because we don't know which way we actually voted. So if all of C Team is going to always be dead on this path, then there must be some kind of storyline narrative here that happens in this timeline that ends up with C Team being dead. Or I am just going to constantly be running into locked scenarios until I vote other ways and actually kill off one of the teams, which is not really what I want to do. I'm trying to play this as the good guy as much as you can in this kind of story. So there is plenty of more memory fragments to go around, but we may very well end up doing like this timeline, and maybe just this timeline, and maybe we could do this timeline, and maybe this one, and maybe this one, maybe this one, and maybe this one, and maybe this one. But then we are going to have to, at that point, go back and get the other endings. Like, as far as this is, we haven't unlocked anything new here for D team. We haven't unlocked anything new for C team. We haven't unlocked anything new for Q team. And if we switch to the other cutscenes, yeah. Instead of making you actually play the game all the way through, I almost wonder if we are going to just be given the alternate explanation here, where we just go through this storyline using this global flowchart and that's it. And frankly, we'll probably be so bored with the game by the time we go through all of this, because we're making decent progress, but we're not really making great progress. But yeah, we very well may be so bored with the game that the idea of going back and playing from the beginning to the end in a chronological order is just not really appealing, even if that option did unlock. I also am starting to potentially wonder if we are going to run into there being not that many puzzles as you would like, although the puzzles also really, really suck. Like, they're either super easy, like the Q team, like last episode's escape room, or they're super hard, like the two previous escape rooms, or no, this escape room and then the one before last one were both very hard puzzles. So if 2/3 of all the puzzle rooms are going to be super hard, that's going to be fairly annoying. Also, hopefully we don't run into any other weirdness of just misunderstanding puzzles. Like, honestly, if I hadn't spent that extra 30 minutes doing trying to get that boot up puzzle to work, I feel like I would have potentially yeah, I totally would have had enough time here to start another memory fragment. But I think we'll keep it simple here. This may end up with us having a lot of episodes, certainly, but keeping it simple and having shorter episodes, one per memory, is fine for now. Almost certainly the series is going to wildly vary in the length of episodes, where we'll probably get to the last section of the game, the last act of the game, and I'll just want to keep on pushing forward, and I could see accidentally making a 4-hour episode if I'm not careful. But yeah, since we really didn't do much in that room, it's so weird that we didn't do anything with the crane games in that room at all. But since we didn't do that much, there's not a lot to say. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.